So if you're a new player to Sparking Zero, even if you're an advanced player, I highly recommend that you hone in your defensive skills in this game, because one thing you want to do is you want to limit the amount of damage that you are going to be taking when you are fighting other opponents in this game, because if you take a ton of damage, you're going to die and you're going to lose characters, which is going to cause you more than likely to lose a set. Starting off with advanced guard techniques, we have high and low guards. Other than the standard guard, which this right here is going to be the standard guard, which is, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's R1. You can also perform high and low guards. So if I go real quick and I'm going to show you a guard. So this is just the standard guard, which is R1. So that's just how you guard normally, but because he's doing high attacks, you can see that if he goes high, I block high. So that is a high right there. So if Piccolo goes high, I'm going to wait for him to go high again, and then we're just going to block. So you want to sit there and come into the battle training mode, or even just in regular training, and just constantly practice this, right? So now moving on to the next thing, we have low guard. So perform a low guard, which we're just going to be holding down to perform a low guard. So you got to be on the lookout to know when your opponent is going to be going for a high or going to be going for a low, because you can get put in a mix not knowing what your opponent is actually going to do. So make sure you focus on that, all right? So moving on to the next thing, we have guard class. Hold to perform a guard class against an opponent who is guarding. So when your opponent is guarding, if I press up on the left directional stick and then press square, I can actually hold it down to be able to break his guard. But real quick, you have the ability to also be able to break your opponent's guard like this, right? So if I hit with the one, boom, boom, I can break his guard like that, which is square triangle. That's how you break his guard. But if you want to break his guard like this, you can boom, boom, go like that. Or if you could do like this, boom, 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 and then he might guard again, and then you can actually break it again. Right, so that is going to be guard class. That is very good to sit there and be able to break your opponent's guard. That's one way to break your opponent's guard. Like I said, if you want to break your opponent's guard and not do that, you have the ability to do triangle. Do square and then triangle, which will give you the ability to break the guard instantly, because that is going to be a low. Unless they block low, then it won't break it. Alright, so now moving on to the next thing, we're going to be taking a look at attack breaker. So attack breaker is hold to perform a high guard, then use attack breaker, right? So if I hold up and then I'm gonna hold right here, that's gonna allow me to sit there and perform an attack breaker. So if he's attacking, it's just gonna break his attack, which is pretty good. If I'm not mistaken, I think I gotta hold it a little bit higher. Obviously, like I said, what you need to do is you just need to sit there and just like keep practicing, bro. Like keep getting used to the thing, because a lot of people need to realize, like when it comes to fighting game, especially if you're a new player, like you need to learn and have your mind like understand and lock in this knowledge of knowing when to be able to perform this during a combat scenario when you're fighting your opponent. So if you sit there and you just constantly just do this like here and just constantly just lab this, even for like better mechanics, you're going to get better at the game, because they're putting the reps into training mode to be able to sit there and do that. All right, so let's move on to the next mode over here. So those are all your advanced guard techniques. Like I said, you have high guard, you have low guard, you have guard clash, and then you have attack breaker. Let's have attack break, which these are very important mechanics to be able to sit there to block inside of this game. So now moving on, we're going to be going over to advanced counters. Now if you're new to fighting games and you don't know what a counter is when your opponent hits you and then you either block or parry to be able to sit there to land another hit on your opponent, to be able to give yourself advantage off your opponents sitting there putting out there and taking their turn, right? So if we go into advanced counters, we have perception. Now, in this game, perception is basically another word for them calling parry. So to hold to activate perception and counter your opponent's rush attack. So all you got to do to hold down perception is you just have to hold it. But one thing you need to notice about holding down perception is that you're actually losing ki the longer you hold down perception. So you need to be very wary of this when you want to use perception, because you are going to be losing ki the longer you hold down perception. And if you lose ki, you might not have ki for a very good moment where you need to actually punish your opponent for the mistake they had and do more damage than your opponent, right? So always keep that in mind when you are doing perception. Now the next thing we have is hold to activate super perception and counter your opponent's attack. So if we hold down, we can actually hold this down to do a super perception, which will allow us to actually be able to go to our opponent and perform attack and then lead to a full combo. So if I hold down super perception, I keep saying perfection. If I hold down super perception, right, then it also takes a skill point. So keep that in mind, that by you doing this, it's gonna take a skill point, and you need to be very careful about that. You need to utilize, if you really need to use that skill point to hold down and get a full combo string off using a perception, or you want to save your skill point and just waste some key in order to get a basic perception and then follow up with another combo if you can get a combo off your basic perception, which is right here. You got to keep that in mind because you never know where you might need your skill point. Your skill point might come invaluable when you need to sit there and perform like an instant transmission or just charge up, right? So now moving on to the next thing, what we're going to be looking at is we're going to be looking at high speed invasions. So high speed invasions is basically teleportation in this game. So press the instant and attack lance to use high speed evasion. I'm not even gonna lie, high speed evasions, I highly recommend these type of mechanics right here. You spend a little bit more time in the battle training and understand how they work, because it takes a moment to get this down. So like how this works is basically like when he's attacking, you gotta wait for the right moment to be able to instant transmission. Like I said, once you like learn this, at first you're gonna take some time to actually be able to get used to this. So you gotta keep practicing. Practice makes perfect. Like just go in there into the lab and training battle and just keep running this drill right here. This drill will allow you to be able to sit there and practice this and get good at it. Like, even for me, I still struggle with it sometimes, but you got to get the right timing down to be able to sit there and perform this instant transmission, which is something that, like I said, you have to work on. It's very important inside of fighting games, especially when you get to the higher level fighters in this game, like higher opponents, they're going to be doing this a lot. So you need to be getting good with this. Alright, so moving on to the next thing, we're actually going to be using super counter. So this right here, I'm not even going to lie, I'm still struggling with this a little bit with this. But basically what you have to do, you have to press up and square at the same time to be able to perform a super counter, which is right there. You can see how I was able to do that. Like, it takes some time to be able to learn this. So you got to like actually lab this a lot, because like I said, I'm still having trouble where I'm able to do it, but I'm not able to like actually perform it as soon as he starts attacking me. So it all comes down to labbing. Obviously, while me recording this video, I'm still labbing and like getting used to this. That's why you see what I'm doing. If I fuck up, I literally go right back and then I try to get better at it, because you never know when you're going to want to utilize this mechanic, and the higher skill players are utilizing this. So you got to keep practicing. Even if you're not getting it right, it is frustrating when you don't get it down like at certain point in times, but it's okay. Practice makes perfect. You got to keep working on it. You got to keep practicing. So that's the next thing right there, super counter. So now moving on to Z counter, right? So press just before a follow-up attack lands to perform a Z counter. So right when they land, you got to do this, right? I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think I have to hit him first. Press a moment of follow-up attack land. Oh, okay. So that's how you do it, right? So as soon as he hits you, this is the follow-up attack right here. So we're going to run it again. Wait, I don't actually want demo play. This demo play, but I mean, if you play this without actually like being into the training ground and been in an online match, you've probably seen your opponent do this. So that's basically how you do it. So you got to wait for the follow attack, and you got to wait for the right moment for it to land. So like I said, you got to keep practicing. There we go. You see, practice makes perfect. Now I'm going to keep running this drill. Alright, so the final thing we're going to be having is Z counter uses. Knock your opponent back, perform a follow-up attack, and then match their Z counter with your own counter attack. Right? So we're going to boom, boom. There we go. Like right there with these like type of counters, you got to make sure that you're actually like looking at the exact moment of when that attack is about to land. Get good at understanding of knowing when the attack is going to hit your character and then press the button. Like, that's the only way you're actually going to be becoming really, really good at these attacks. But I just want to bring out this video just going over the advanced guarding as well as the advanced counter techniques inside this game. I highly recommend that you practice and lab these techniques and mechanics, because you can't have a good offense and not have a good defense, and then you can't have a good defense and not have a good offense. Everything has to be an equilibrium in order to be really good at fighting games. So make sure you guys practice these. If you guys found this video to be very useful and you want to see more Dragon Ball Sparking Zero content on the channel, just know that I live stream every single day. I live stream on YouTube as well as I live stream on Twitch. Link will be down below in the description. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Also subscribe to the page while your notifications are turned on so you don't miss an upload. And I'm going to see you guys on the next one.